The 80s and 90s will forever be romanticized on how they shaped multiple generations of children through music, television, movies, and of course, video games. We would see children expressing themselves through these times in a wide variety of ways. And today we're going to be talking about the console that changed the game for video games forever. And of course, that console is none other than the Nintendo Entertainment System, otherwise known as the NES.
Now you're playing with power.
Welcome everybody to the first episode of Retro Rewind, where myself and a few other creators get together and we talk about items from yesteryears, whether it was gaming or maybe movies or TV shows, whatever the case may be. But we get together to talk about our different views on things, how we felt about certain things as we were growing up, and share stories so that way we can all get a different perspective other than just hearing from myself. And of course, today we are talking about none other than the granddaddy of them all that changed gaming forever, the Nintendo Entertainment System.
It was October of 1985 when Nintendo would release the NES to the US, and then it went nationwide in 1986. Nintendo did some creative marketing regarding the NES as we were seeing what was unfolding of the arcade crash of 1983. So Nintendo did not want to market this as just another video game console. They marketed it as a toy, which was essentially smart on their end because then it would go on to sell over 61 million units. So one thing that separated the NES of its predecessors on the console market was the aesthetics. How it looked, it was definitely something different for the time, but it also fit just right in with the times. So when talking about the aesthetics, of course, everybody has their own scope on what their initial thoughts were when they first seen the NES.
When I first saw the NES, it was actually at Christmas. Me and my brother played it, and we were blown away. When we finally got that working, we were absolutely blown away. We were playing Super Mario Bros., and we were playing Duck Hunt with the Zapper, which honestly was an incredible experience. We absolutely loved it. We also had Operation Wolf at the time. That was the two games we started with. Believe it or not, my brother actually got a Power Glove eventually too, which he returned a week later, but that's a separate story.
I thought to myself, man, I'm never going to see anything this amazing ever again in my life. It looked high-tech to me at the time.
So when I first saw this thing, I was like, whoa, what is that? Who are these people? No, I know who those people are. They were my family, and they were surrounded around this thing and playing it. And I had no idea what was going on because I was barely self-aware.
My initial thoughts on the NES were pretty vague. At the time, I wasn't really sure what it was, but I could tell with how it looked. It looked like it was like a gaming device because back in the day, all the way back in the ancient times, the 90s, VCRs and stuff like that, cassette tapes were very bulky. They were really fat.
Well, I thought that as a kid, I thought that it honestly was another VHS player.
So the first time I ever seen the NES was over at my grandparents' house. And I was just completely floored by the visual aesthetics of the console in of itself. Being a fan of Back to the Future, it just reminded me of what a DeLorean would look like if it were put in console form. So my little brain was just going nuts, and I just knew I had to get my hands on this thing and figure out what in the world would it do.
But Nintendo did not stop there. They released a slew of different accessories that were just mind-boggling for the time and definitely pushed the boundaries on what we could do with our video game consoles. But the two main ones that the vast majority of us had was, of course, not just the controller, but that lovely zapper. And whether you had it orange or gray, we can all agree that it was something we all had to get our hands on.
This rectangle in my hands, digging into my little palms, my little fingers, just reaching around and pressing those buttons. And the fact that these buttons were actually doing something and it was translating on the screen, I was like, what is this all about? I want to know more about it.
At the time, it was pretty unique because just about everything that I was playing actually had a joystick. So yeah, it was a really big deal to be able to play this, and for my small hands, the NES controller was fantastic. And of course we got Super Mario Bros. Going right now, which is kind of cool.
To me, it was a game changer as a kid. I already had minimal experience with gaming at this point in time, as all I had played up to this point was the Atari 2600. So just seeing the game experience through a joystick and then going from that to a D-pad was just more than my little brain could handle, because I could just barely move my characters with the joystick, and then going through and trying to retrain what little training I had to try to use my thumb instead of my hand to move characters was just a whole new experience in of itself.
Overall, I think the controller was pretty cool. I was more interested in the little Guncom thing. I think that's what they're called. I can't remember. But I was more interested in that. But we didn't get to play it that often. But that's what stuck with me the most.
This here, buddy, was amazing whenever I was a child. I remember just sitting there with the controller itself and just like pressing. I still love it. The feeling of these buttons. I don't know what I've never been able to find a controller that still has this feelings, that concave feeling, or convex, whichever it is. I don't know why we don't do more controllers with these buttons. These are tanks. These things are not going to go bad on you, man.
So I was just looking through my archives, and apparently I still have the gun.
And of course, talking about the Zapper, that thing was just another level at that point in time. I never thought it would even be capable of, doing what it did on a screen. Like my little brain, again, going back, because I was a little kid, I couldn't comprehend the fact that I'm pulling a trigger and what I'm aiming at is actually being shot at on the screen. So it just added yet another layer to the excitement of just learning how to play video games.
The Zapper. Now this thing here, I loved it. Just because, you could take it, point at the screen, be able to hit those ducks, or we did the secret, we put it in the grass and we just shot the grass and it would just take out whatever is on the screen. The sound. Oh, that was so fun.
This thing right here, this Zapper, this freaking gun Zapper thing, when I first got my hands on this and I started playing Duck Hunt, oh man, it was just craziness to me.
All right, so using the Zapper, well, I figure why not actually use the Zapper? Shoot away a couple times, hope it works. It never works. It just seems to always do what it wants to do. But we're gonna try it. Let's see. Yeah, so there you go. How is using it? Well, it's fantastic. Still works today. I mean, how can you beat that, right? Listen to that click, though. Isn't that amazing? That's one-handed. That's one thing you can't really do very well in this, is one-handed. You need to line up the two little pins and the center pin, just like a real gun.
So outside of just playing the NES, one of the things that we had to do back in the day, which seems a little archaic to today's standards on how we go about hooking things up, it is the process of hooking the NES up to the TV, and also sometimes what we would have to do in order to get those games to work. Let's talk a little bit more on what we had to do and how some of us troubleshooted these problems.
It's what we used to. I cannot believe I still have this. I looked at my archives and I still have it. What the heck is this thing? This is an RF switch, ladies and gentlemen. Remember how you had cable back in the day? And that's how you would connect your infamous Nintendo to the TV. Worst quality possible. Crazy low resolution, but still, we didn't care.
So I have to agree with Bowler on the aspect of, yes, the picture quality to today's standards going through the RF switch was definitely abysmal, but we didn't know any better. So the fact that we were even able to see the type of picture quality we were getting through a gaming console, we didn't know any better, and all we wanted was just the sheer entertainment value that it was going to bring.
RF was pretty common. We always expected that we could just plug it into the back and use channel 3 or 4, depending on what you actually had selected. And that's how we did. Channel 3, you played your Nintendo Entertainment System. It was great on your old CRT TV.
This is something I struggle with a lot because we had the same problem, or I did, because I didn't understand how to hook up anything. And for the longest time, it took me forever because back then you had to screw it onto the back of the TV. And that part always confused me because I always just played it. I never actually, plugged it in or set it up.
Now, at the time, we all had CRTs at the time, and then those CRTs were still early on, but I just don't know how it was hooked up. It was hooked up through magic. Yes, that's all I knew. I didn't know if they were using RF or composite cables because I don't think composite cables were really a thing yet. But all I know is that it was connected by magic.
Of course it's nostalgic now, but back then I was really frustrated because I was just like, man, what do I have to do to just turn it on and play the game? Thinking back on it, like, it was pretty cool. The technology was, like, obviously dated, but the way that stuff was, it stuck with me for forever.
And the way you loaded games into the NES was always a fun thing, right? So yeah, so you put a game in and you load it like this.
Physically loading a game into the Nintendo was one of the most satisfying experiences, and probably still is today, if I'm being honest. It was just such a cool thing to be able to slide your new game in, like press it down, close the cover, and it was just such an ASMR experience before we knew what ASMR was.
It was like that anticipation before you have imminent fun,
Just the feeling of putting a game in the cartridge slot, pushing it in even further, and then pushing it down, closing the flap. This was like next gen stuff, man. To me, this was future. This was technology that I've never experienced in my life. This was alien to me.
You took it out and you got it in there and you just felt that little click. It was like taking you into another world, like you're getting ready, like you're getting on the spaceship at that point in time. You're buckling this cartridge in to take you somewhere else.
I mean, how could you not get excited when loading the NES, especially as a little kid growing up with it? It just felt like you knew as you were inserting the carton and closing the clamshell that you were just going to be off on some sort of an adventure that you just weren't even sure how it was going to pan out. But you knew that you were excited nonetheless, and you really didn't care how the outcome was. Rather, you succeeded in whatever you were trying to do on the game, or if you lost. Because back then, we were a little more thick-skinned when it came to gaming, and we were able to take the abuse of constant failure.
Again, this is one of those nostalgic things because at the time it was kind of annoying, and we did a lot of things we shouldn't have done with the cartridges back then.
So we actually bought an NES cleaning kit, and that kind of worked, but not really. I remember buying that. You could have just used alcohol, but we didn't know as a kid, right?
And then, of course, you had certain games that you just, they didn't work at the time. So I was just like, and people say this was bad, and I know it's bad nowadays because of, your breath has moisture. The moisture causes the pins to oxidize and creates corrosion over time. I don't care. It still worked, and it still works to this day for some odd reason. I don't know. It just works, okay? Then nobody can tell you any different. It still works to blow into the cartridges. Pins be damned.
And then there was vertically, where you took it, and you...
So blowing to the carts did work, but another thing that I used to do is I would put the game in, put it down, and then I'm not sure how I discovered this. I held reset, and then I moved the cart sideways. Now, you guys can't probably see that. Terrible. But I would move it with my fingers, and then I would release the reset button, and it would work. Better than blowing to the carts.
Now, there were multiple methods on how we would go about getting games to work. And yes, the one that everybody did at least once was blowing into the carts themselves. But I did do something that was very similar to what Bowler did, and how he was kind of on the one side wiggling the cart. My friends and I, we would always have like our one hand on each side and kind of wiggling it back and forth. And then at the same time, we would be spamming the hell out of that reset button in hopes that it would work.
Outside of our own individual stories on how we went about not only hooking the NES up to the TV, but also getting the carts to work, we all have an individual story on what the first game was that we played on the NES, and for some of us, it forever changed how we looked at gaming.
The first game I ever played in general was actually Frostbite for the Atari 2600, where you jump on the little ice pans and there's a polar bear and you have to collect points. The first game I ever played for the Nintendo, however, was Super Mario Bros. And I'm sure that's going to be an answer for most people, the Duck Hunt cartridge. Yeah, that was definitely the first game.
The first game that I played, I'm circling back, was Hogan's Alley. But another story is the next day, my mom wanted to buy me a game, so I went to Kmart. So we get to Kmart, and I see Karate Champ. Karate Champ was kind of a fighter, kind of like Street Fighter 2, right? But this was way before then. It was in 1985 that this game came out at the arcade. It was called Karate Champ, and it was one-on-one fighting. And the arcade version was good, so I thought, and I can't remember my mindset, but I guess I thought that it would look identical, it would play identical. But at the arcade, you actually had to use 2 different joysticks. Well, that did not work out on the NES at all, because when I got home and played it, I was like, okay, this is not that great.
Now, the first game I remember playing on this thing had to be between the original Mario Brothers or Duck Hunt. That, or even Punch-Out with Mike Tyson in it. Because I remember us having such a hell of a time trying to play through Punch-Out and getting our arses whooped. Man, I mean, we got stomped, but we still had a great time. And Duck Hunt in particular, that stupid dog, I wanted to shoot that dog so bad because how much he was laughing at me. So I'm a cat person these days. But anyways, Super Mario Brothers combo pack with Duck Hunt and Punch-Out. Those are the first games I remember playing.
Yeah, the first game I played was Super Mario Bros. 3.
First game, like I said, we played was the Duck Hunt, the gun com game where we shoot the ducks. We probably put most of our time into the Duck Hunt game. We had a football game. We talked about it a while ago, but I forgot the name of it. But that, mostly 2-player games that me and my brother could play together. Those are the games we put the most time into.
So the lady at Kmart was like, there's a really popular game called Super Mario Brothers. It's really fun, and it's the talk of the town right now. You should really check it out. Hard-headed. I ignored her, and oh my God, what a mistake. A few weeks after, one of my buddies that lived on the corner of my house, corner where I lived, he had it, and I went over and I played, and I was like, oh my God. That's when I was blown away by the NES. So first time I saw Mario 1, I was like, oh my God. The secrets, the control that you have using this controller, mind-boggling, just mind-boggling.
The first game that I ever played was Super Mario Bros. And I was terrible at it, but I loved it. Whenever you got to go down into the underground tunnel, that doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, that would play in my dreams. I loved that level. It's only the second level, and we would go through and keep playing the game. I don't think any of us, as we were younger, even beat that game. Super Mario Bros. The first one.
So the first game that I played on the NES, believe it or not, it technically wasn't Mario. It was Mario very soon or thereafter, but it was actually WWF, the WrestleMania game, the one that had Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt like, yeah! That was the game that I played. And we only played it though for maybe a few minutes because my friend and I, we could not figure out for the life of us how to even really play the game. And I believe I was only about 5 years old at the time, so we had zero reading abilities to be able to look at the manual and figure out what it was exactly we were supposed to do. So shortly thereafter, I do recall us turning it off and then putting the Mario Duck Hunt cart in, and then I was introduced to Mario, which at that point, I'll be honest, when I just first heard that intro to level 1 on Mario, my little brain went, oh my God, what is this? And I was there for it. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I can't recall what level it was. The first level where the background is actually black for the sky, not blue, that really sticks out to me. And I remember my brain being like so just beside myself that why is the sky black? But it just, for some reason, it felt like everything popped better and my little eyes just absolutely loved it. And I was there for it.
Getting introduced to the NES was just the first of many mind-blowing experiences that we would all have when playing this console. After that, the next big hit of dopamine would have to be the first game that we ever beat on the NES. Let's take a look and see what exactly was the game that everybody first beat on the NES.
The first game that we did beat as children was Super Mario Bros. 3. That last ship is insane to me. I don't know how we ever got past as kids. I played it here recently, and it's difficult for me as an adult to get through it. So I'm surprised that little Sheldon did it. I don't remember how I did it.
I honestly don't remember if we beat a lot of those games because we didn't have the luxury of playing at our leisure. If it was a game we beat, maybe it was Duck Hunt. But I can't say for sure.
The first game I ever beat, now that's interesting because I always said the first game I ever finished. The first game I ever finished was Super Mario Bros. That was the absolute first game I ever finished on the Nintendo because we had it and that's all we had, and we had a brand new system. We had to finish that before we were allowed to get another one.
What was the first game I beat? I want to say Mario 1. I remember I was getting to school and me and this guy had a competition. It was the first one who beat it. And I was like, yeah, I got the 8-3. Oh, yeah, I got the 8-3. Those stupid Hammer Brothers. How do you beat them? I don't know, man. It's tough. And I knew how to beat them, but I didn't want to tell the guy, right? Shh, it's a secret to everybody. So, yeah. So that was definitely the first game that I beat. And I beat a lot of them after that, but that was the first one that I beat, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, the first game I beat was also Super Mario Bros. 3.
Mega Man 2 was the first game I ever beat on the NES. And I'm laughing because most people would have thought that maybe it was Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, or even 3. But no, it was this, Mega Man 2. And it was because Mega Man as a whole always just drew me in. I love the idea of a run and gun, and I also love platformers. So combining how the platforming was in Mega Man 2, it just drew me in. Plus, again, I get to shoot at stuff. So I was just honed in on trying to figure out how to beat this game. And when I actually figured out how to kill Dr. Wily, or I should say the alien, not Dr. Wily, I was beside myself because I can remember sitting there at my friend's house, because that's where I beat it. I went through every single weapon before I went to Bubble Lead, because in my brain I went, there's no way it's the bubble. Why would it be the bubble? The bubble is the thing that's going to kill the main boss in the game. Doesn't make sense to me.
The first game that I beat on the NES, I honestly, man, I can't remember ever beating a damn game on this thing because, again, it was only in my household for quite a few years before eventually we upgraded to the Super Nintendo. But I do remember spending a lot of hours in Super Mario Brothers. But these things didn't even have save functions, so what the hell, man? I don't even remember beating a game on this thing.
One thing that I can honestly say I love about gaming and gaming culture in general is the fact that everybody has their own genres or types of games that draw them in. Rather it's platformers, racing games, shoot 'em ups, or first-person shooters, everybody is drawn to one thing in particular, or even just one game in particular. So that being said, let's take a look at what our favorite games are on the NES.
Wait for it. Here it comes. Almost there.
Super Mario Bros. 3.
Super Mario Brothers 3.
Super Mario 3.
It had to be Super Mario Bros. 3, but it's a hard toss-up between Bases Fully Loaded and Bad Dudes 2. Like it's like those three as my childhood. I know it might not be everybody's favorite, but like that's what I loved.
The worlds in this game, the amount of power-ups you had in this game, the levels, the music, everything about it was just second to none.
This is still my favorite game of all time. No surprise. Ninja Gaiden. I love this game to death. I still play it to this day. I played Ninja Gaiden 2 on my channel the other day. And I love doing like a no-death runs on that game. My favorite game. And I want to probably start speed running it.
So, I'm holding these two up because even as I'm recording, I'm having a hell of a time trying to pick between the two. But if I have to summarize it based off of the amount of time I've actually played both of these games, I would probably say that Mega Man 2 takes the edge over Ninja Gaiden because this game I can actually speedrun and I have put probably the most time into it. And it's one that even to today, I believe I've played this game similar to Streets of Rage 2. I probably play this minimum once a year, if not more than that, because I just try to make sure I can still speed run it in the event that somebody tries calling me out here on the interweb saying, oh, let's see if you can do it.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So I try to at least play the game minimum once a year, but I would say that Mega Man 2, I get like the most enjoyment from, bar none. It's like brand new every time I play it, even though I know exactly what I need to do. It's that type of a game that I can just pop it in and play it 100 times over, and I'm still getting that excitement and enjoyment from it.
My favorite game I ever played was this bad boy right here, Blaster Master. Blaster Master, folks, is by far my favorite game for the NES. Absolutely loved it, played it backwards and forwards. A very cool game. I still have it original in the box, complete in box, and definitely a very important one for me because I actually spent my own money that I raised at my paper route to be able to buy that game. After seeing it at a cousin's house that we rented it, I knew I needed to have it. Blaster Master, definitely recommend it.
If there was one thing that I could sit here and say that the NES did better than any other console to date, it would have to be its ability to bring people together. Rather it was family or friends, we can all agree that we all had a slew of memories that we had with our friends and family while playing the NES. Now we're going to take a trip down memory lane as we discuss some of our more favorite moments that stick with us to this day while playing the NES.
A memory that sticks out with me was definitely playing, it's not actually with my friends, it was every time there was Easter or Christmas, I would bring my NES to my grandparents and me and my cousins would play Mario 3 or Super Dodgeball. I remember playing those games a lot. So that was a lot of fun. We played Mario 3 and yeah, that was a lot of fun. Definitely some memories that I'll never forget. That was so cool.
Like I said, most of the memories I have was playing with my brother. Like 100% of the memories. I didn't have too many friends over. And if I did, we didn't play video games together. Most of the video game time I spent was with family. Mostly my brother, occasionally my cousins when they would visit from out of town, or we would, go on a family trip to see them. But nothing that was like consistent enough to be like, oh yeah, my friends from down the street came and played NES with us. No, not quite. It was mostly me and my older brother. We were tag teaming the hell out of a lot of those games. So if there was any memories, they were all with him, and they were like some of the best we had playing NES, because we were like two peas in a pod. Both of those games, if we beat any of them, we beat them together, and if one of us beat them, the other watched, and yeah, wouldn't trade it for nothing.
One of the memories that I remember with the Nintendo Entertainment System is definitely playing Double Dragon 2. Double Dragon 2 was one of those games that was an awesome beat-em-up co-op game, being able to play two players, but it was also a major skill check. When you got to like the Temple of Doom or whatever it is, with the little falling fire and the spikes and the trap room and all that stuff, it was insanely difficult. So if you did that, that was a major flex, right? So we would always cheer each other on and we would play Double Dragon 2. So that's definitely one we play with friends a lot.
Beating Super Mario Bros. 3 with my brothers. Us beating that the first time was like, we were hooping and hollering. We had pillows around and stuff because it was late at night too. And we just jumped in the air. Once we got through Bowser, that was like the main like, oh. And I don't think that I'll ever like have another moment like that. That was so cool to go through and beat, and it just was one of those moments of sparkles that just stick in your mind whenever you beat your first game like that. It's so great. I loved it.
The biggest thing for me is all of the memories I have at my grandparents' house, especially around Christmas time. I can remember being a little kid, every time we would go over to my grandparents' house, it was like that meme that you see of like, stuff back in the 80s, and you'll see like a family with mullets and like the dad's holding a beer can and a cigarette in the mouth. That's how Christmas was at our grandparents' house, because they were still, back then, they were still smoking in the house around the kids. That type of stuff was still normalized. So all I'm picturing is the fog of smoke and smell of stale cigarette smoke in the air as you walked in. But I do remember just always sitting on the floor, huddled around my siblings and my cousins, opening certain presents that we would get from the extended family. All the while we would be taking turns playing the NES. And on the coffee table, I can recall seeing this right here, the NES Advantage, sitting there, in addition to the satellite that would project to the NES. That was like the wireless control system. And that was just something that stuck with me. But those images are forever just ingrained in my head. and I wish we could replicate them today. But sadly, just the way things are, I'm not sure that we can. But when little man gets older, I'm going to try my best to replicate those vibes to the best of my abilities.
I didn't actually play this thing with friends. I played it with family, cousins that came over for birthday parties, my sisters, my father. We all got around. We played this thing. We had a great time with it. I still remember us trying to get through Punch Out. Some of those later fights were absolutely brutal, but we still had a great time with it. And that's what I remember the most. I remember, of course, playing Duck Hunt with them and, us taking turns playing Super Mario Brothers.
So if you have made it to this point in the video, I'm sure that not only you love the NES, but now you know how much we love the NES, right? Now we're going to talk about how much this one singular console had an impact on all of our lives.
The Nintendo Entertainment System is the reason I am a Nintendo fan. It basically set the foundation for everything to come. If you look at a Nintendo controller, a Super Nintendo controller, it kept evolving on itself. There was a point, though, I gotta say, that Nintendo kind of lost me a bit. That was around the GameCube and Wii era. I kind of avoided that because I was more of a PC gamer and Dreamcast and Xbox and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Nintendo Entertainment System definitely brought me really as a passionate gamer. It was the reason I keep playing Nintendo games.
How did the biggest impact of the NES was, oh my gosh, it marked me forever. That's why I have a channel. That's why I have a YouTube channel now. I still play to this day, and I'll be 50 this year, which is kind of crazy. I mean, look at the tattoo. It's an NES controller. Yeah. By the way, this shirt's a joke, by the way. I never wear this shirt, but I thought I'd wear it today. So, yeah, NES is huge. It's my favorite console of all time. I'm biased. Probably it's the nostalgic glasses, but I just love the two buttons, man. This controller, to me, is still my favorite controller. Yes, it's not the real SNES one. I know this one's really great. A lot of people like it. I love it too. But to me, this is king. This is my favorite controller to play. Don't give me an Xbox controller with like a million buttons. What the heck is that?
What the hell is even that?
Every button does something else. I might as well play on a keyboard. I'm dumb. I need something simple. Give me an NES.
It had a huge impact on me. I was the kid that while my brothers were out playing outside, I would be the one inside on my NES playing Punch Out and Bases Fully Loaded and Bad Dudes. And that feeling is just what I enjoyed doing. So whenever more game systems came out, that is just what has always stuck with me. Like, it really affected how much I liked video games, having the NES there, having the memories with it, and just how much it changed the dynamic in our family. Like, it was just such a cool thing to have, for lack of a better term, like a magical thing where like it just like changed the dynamic of the household.
The impact that the NES had on me was just huge. It let me know that for certain that I was definitely wanting to be more engaged on the gaming side and see where we would go from the NES forward. It pushed my boundaries, so to speak, when it came to the difficulty of things, which of course, as we know, that there's the term NES hard for a reason. And some of the games that I beat, I guess to today's standards, one would say that is on the NES hard tier list. The NES I can still go back to, even for how old it is. I might not be able to play everything because to me, some things just haven't aged very well. But as a whole, there's so many games out there that I can go and turn on and just get a vast amount of enjoyment from.
The NES, just the game format really just made an imprint on me. Like, I like this. The appeal for me was video games. Like, the idea that you could interact with entertainment on this level outside of toys. Video games really kind of married those two things together. Like, yeah, I'm interacting with it like I do with my toys, and I'm visually seeing something that caters to me specifically. So seeing both of those things kind of merge together, I think really really cemented the appeal of video games. For me, it's bar none. Video games all day till the day I die.
This thing, of course, had a big impact on me as a gamer. Growing up, this was new to me. The console, the system, the controller in my hand, the whole console experience was alien to me. It wasn't something I was ever familiar with because I was still very young. But from this point forward, this was the beginning. This was the conception of video games in my life. and this is exactly where it all started. So, of course, it had a huge impact on me.
And it would forever go on to be that console that I know I could just go back to just kind of whenever I want to and know I'm going to have fun. And speaking of fun, it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to sharing with my little guy when he gets a little bit older, as I want to try to see what his little face looks like when I show him what Dad used to play back in the day. As we reel things in on the back end of our nostalgic run of talking about our time with the NES, there's just a couple more questions that need to be answered. The first one being, has the NES aged well in our eyes? And then the second one being, would you recommend somebody who hasn't played the NES to play it? And of course, which game would you recommend if so?
I think old gaming has aged beautifully. They're still good, but even to this day, they still hold a lot of strong appeal among people of most age groups. People as old as me and older to as young as my nieces and nephews. Experiencing entertainment on that level is something that I think is timeless. Any generation can be introduced to it and probably have a similar experience of really enjoying what it's like to interact with entertainment in this way. Yeah, a lot of the newer games, but back then it was simple. It was 2 buttons, directional pad, move right, and play the game. It has aged wonderfully.
I think the NES has aged very well throughout the years. I think it's still a staple, and I think everyone should play it at least once to understand where we come from, where the difficulty comes from. People think that Dark Souls is hard. Man, play this. Play this. Play Battletoads. Play those games are hard. I'm not saying that, of course, these games are probably hard, but NES hard is on another level, I believe. Like, man, think about this, kids. You couldn't look up on the internet for the answer to how to beat a level. You couldn't create a save state. So if you'd only get 1 or 2 games per year, let's say if you got a game for Christmas and a game for your birthday, you're gonna have to play that game until the cows come home. I mean, you're probably not gonna get another game. So even if the game's hard,
The Nintendo Entertainment System has aged well over the years in a lot of aspects. The games that are really good, with less sprite flicker and less slowdown and good art style and good music, those are fantastic. I think of Super Mario 3, I think of Blaster Master, I think of things like, Little Nemo, I think of even some of the Final Fantasy games. A lot of those are really good games. There are some real pieces of garbage though. So I would say that Nintendo as a whole has aged well, but there's a lot of parts of the library that you should definitely avoid.
Oh, the NES to me has aged so damn good. I mean, the console is 40 years old, and I guarantee that a child could get some enjoyment from it still, even though we have the graphics that we have today. And I will say, similar to what Coy was saying, there might be some titles you don't want to go back to, but overall, when you're looking at the grand scheme of things and the whole library, it's definitely aged well, and it's something that everybody can get enjoyment from.
Yes, the NES has definitely aged. It's definitely showing its years in terms of gameplay, but something about returning to this console and collecting for it, picking up a huge range of games for this thing. Nowadays, I have over 100 NES games that I've never actually experienced before up until now, and it's amazing just how many games on this thing exist that are still very playable and still very fun to this day. And it's honestly, I feel like it's aged like a fine wine.
Has the NES aged well over the years? I think that it has. I think that it has. It's still to this day one of the most just greatest consoles of all time. Anyone can tell you that. If you're going through the list of hey, the best consoles that have ever come out ever in history, usually NES is on the list. It has that pop culture part of it too, where people are like, oh hey, yeah, I remember this. But also two true gamers are more deep gamers, love the hardness of those old games and be able to go back and play them. I feel like it's something that won't won't go away. I feel like it's something that's going to stick around for a very long time. Still, these controllers work. These controllers work till this day. 40-some years old. The console's 40-some years old, and we can still play these.
I think that everybody should play the Nintendo in order to figure out how much gaming has evolved. But yet, the core is still the same. With a Nintendo game, you can still pick up Nintendo games and still have a great time. Nintendo Switch Online is fantastic for that. You can actually play Nintendo games on that. That's how I'd recommend playing nowadays. But if you can find an old Nintendo, maybe your uncle has one, or your grandfather, for God's sakes, at this point, probably has one kicking around. If you can find an old CRT TV or even like a cheap upscaler, then yeah, definitely play the Nintendo, guys. That's where gaming really kicked off. And honestly, Nintendo is still king.
That being said, of course, I would totally recommend that somebody's got to play the NES. How can you not play the NES? If you know who Mario is, how could you not want to go back and see where it all started? I mean, I just feel like that would be a shame as a gamer, or to even, I guess, call yourself a gamer, to not want to go back and at least kind of trace back to where everything kind of started. I know there was other consoles prior to the NES, but I feel like it's safe to say the NES is definitely the one that put gaming back on the map.
If you've never played one of these, I recommend everyone to at least try it once, just to discover the roots, how that special era of gaming was born. It was really a magical experience. You had to be there. And for a game, play Mario 3. Mario 3, I think, would be an awesome game, but I think everyone probably knows that. Who doesn't know Mario 3? But yeah, definitely, yeah. One other game that's really fun on the NES is Mega Man 2. I think Mega Man 2 is a really fun one to play. Good graphics and everything, so yeah.
I would 100% recommend everyone play the NES at least once. I know video games ain't for everybody, but I don't think there's any harm in everyone giving it a fair, solid shake on their terms. It might be a bit much for, people who don't play good video games, but classic Mario can't be beat. It's a very simple game. It's very straightforward. It doesn't demand so much of you that it becomes like a burden to play. Obviously, I don't think it would have been that anyway, but you'd be surprised how many people are just not built for video games. I think the NES is a one-of-a-kind system, very important, and was my first experience in video games.
If you want to be called a gamer, you have to have at least played the NES once. Go out and find an NES, a friend, go to some game store that has them on display somewhere or something, and you gotta play an NES. To me, it doesn't even matter the game, what you choose, but just play it for a minute. Feel this in your hands. Feel those buttons. Just try to put yourself back in that time. Like, I feel like everyone that loves video gaming and loves the history of video gaming has to have played the NES once.
And as far as what game I would try to get somebody to play right out of the gate, my heart and my soul wants to say either Ninja Gaiden, Mega Man 2, or Contra or Super C, because those ones are just like really high up on the tier list for me. But I do understand that those are a little more complicated, or I guess you could say hard, maybe not complex to today's standards of controls, but the difficulty is definitely there. I would probably strongly suggest Mario, the very first one. I know everybody loves Mario 3. I loved it too. I will just say I'm a big proponent of trying to just kind of see where everything started. So I guess to me, it would have to be Mario 1.
I would honestly, absolutely recommend somebody return to the NES, whether it be through the NES Classic or picking up the original NES console, because look, this thing is from what, 1987? This thing is still running. I didn't change any capacitors or anything like that. I cleaned the pin connector, the damn thing still works, and it's working well. To this day, I think this has stood the test of time. I absolutely recommend it to anybody who wants to go back in the past and experience gaming in its twilight, if that even makes any sense. Yes, I would absolutely recommend it, and if they are going to play it, man, just play Punch-Out!, the original Punch-Out!.
So that is going to do it for us here today, talking about the good old days of the NES and all of our memories that go along with it. I appreciate all of you guys that have taken the time to stick with us up to this point. I hope you guys like the format, as I am going to be trying to do this in the future. Maybe not such a long episode. I'm going to try to do some individual games as well to give us a little tidbit here, maybe a 5 to 15 minute max video, so I'm not dragging it out. But the next episode I'm going to try to do, which will technically be a longer one, will be the Genesis and SNES inception, and of course, the beginning of the console wars. So I'm looking forward to getting that one taken care of and getting back with you guys. I'm going to edit all of this out after the premiere is done, so nobody will ever know that this segment even happened. But thanks to you guys watching, thanks to the guys that took the time to help me out with this project, and those that want to continue helping out this project. And be sure to check out all the guys you've seen here today out on YouTube, and I'll be posting their handles here in the description. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next video.